we'll just call this confirming and proving every single thing you have ever wondered about Deltarune.
I am Andreas. I work on Sunset Devils as a side gig. I mean, my main gig is Deltarune Theories.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Nick. I'm one half of the Video Ditch podcast usually, but this is just something that I wanted to do for a while, purely self indulgent. I think the day that Andy and I first talked, after we were done recording, we talked about Deltarune for like 2 hours after the
2
episode
hours.
ended. Yeah.
That was good.
And honestly, everything we said and thought about was much smarter and more well thought out than anything we said today. Too bad we don't have a copy of that. But yeah, this is basically just something that I wanted to do for a long time. A little bonus. If if it gets a lot of views, I guess I'll have to fire Sam, and this we'll just pivot to this full time.
We'll just do this full
Yeah,
time.
just fire Sam and cancel Sunset Devils, and this will be the main
Yeah,
thing.
it's probably more money in it too.
Honestly,
I mean, we
yeah.
can do this forever, right? I
Way
mean,
less work. Just keep lying and saying stupid shit forever.
we can do this forever because chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter
Mm-hmm.
8, chapter 9. We'll just keep it going forever.
Infinite money glitch. Chris is
That's
literally
right.
blue.
Chris is blue. That's true. Well, Chris is green
Crystals.
actually, without their soul.
Yeah, well, Chris is what, a fucking zombie.
Yeah, I think Chris is gray without the soul.
You mean they're a
Just like,
goner?
yes, in a way. Well, there's a whole Cressel theory that I don't know anything about.
Well, I mean, there's the whole thing with Caddy also in the church where she acknowledged that there was some ritual they did to summon a demon, and she got
Yeah.
scared and left, and Chris had to deal with it himself,
Yes.
which I assume is the unification of Chris and the soul, or the loss of Chris's soul and the replacement
Yeah.
with the
I do
gray.
think so too. That there's like I mean, I've had that hunch for like a couple chapters now when that was first brought up that like Chris basically summoned us
Mm-hmm.
to like whatever Chris's soul was used for, like necessitated that we had to be like brought in. So we got summoned. And I mean, I have no idea where Chris's soul is for or what it's doing. Like that's kind of been like one of those questions that no one's really asking.
They broke the barrier, man.
When, what, how?
Or it's I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the reason why Dust is a corpse, but she's walking around because it's a combination of the human soul and a monster's body before it could turn to dust.
That's quite the popular theory right now.
The amalgam.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that literally what it is? Dust injected with determination, right?
I think
Or
so. Yeah.
infused with
Well,
determination. That's Alphys's whole thing.
yeah. I
Or
think there's. I mean, I think the amalgam stuff in the True Lab was kind of like an artificial way to replicate that, because I think the real amalgam was Kara and Azrael when they passed the barrier. Like I think that was the only previous instance we know of a monster and a human fusing.
well, that's what I mean. What's the name? That's what Flowey is, isn't he? Just a more functional amalgam, but flower and monster instead of monster and 8 other monsters.
I think Flowey doesn't have a soul, right? Wasn't that the whole thing with
No,
him?
that's the whole thing. That's why he's like, I'm fucking miserable and I have no emotions
Yeah,
because I'm soulless.
I think that's kind of the case with most of the goners, honestly. That like they don't have a soul or like a will or a reason. That was the whole thing with the darkness turning to stone, like them turning gray. It's kind of like their place within the dark world or within the narrative is kind of like removed. So they like, you know, turn gray and turn to stone. Um, I think that's really the whole thing with goners that like they don't have a reason to be in the narrative.
Yeah, they don't fit. They're not in their setting. Although that's the
Yeah.
question too. Why do they all? What makes the Castletown Dark Fountain so special? Where anyone from any other place can go there and survive.
An excellent question, and one I have no answer to.
Yeah. Next topic.
I kind of suspect it's just like maybe Des made that fountain, and it's kind of like,
And
you
that's what
know,
was the OG.
yeah, like the whole plot point that came up that there's been Dark Worlds for like decades at this point or something like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, we already know Asgore has been aware of them for years before the beginning
Yeah,
of the story, right? That's what
yeah.
kind of made him obsessive and destroyed his marriage.
So let me segue that into that, because this was one thing I was thinking about that might be complete deadline, but deadline of thought. But um, a friend of mine pointed out that the shelter code that we got in chapter 5 is a date, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
obviously.
like the 15th September of 1990 something, 1990X.
1990X.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the day and month are like it's the release date of Undertale, right?
Mm.
But the year is 1990X, and Spamton talks about 1997 a bunch, so I'm just gonna assume it's kind of like 1997, maybe 1994 because of Earthbound's release date. Maybe he's doing
Yeah.
reference there. I don't know. But I was trying to connect it to another date we know, and for some reason I thought that in Undertale 1990X is actually referenced. Like I was like,
Is it in the intro Mount Ebot 1990X or 2020X or
that's what I
something?
that's what I thought, but it's 2010X.
Mm.
So there's like no 1990X whatsoever in the game, which I thought there genuinely was, but like Undertale set in the 2010s. Um, or well, you see the intro with the first child falling down a mountain, and you assume that it's Frisk, but
Right.
turns out to be Kara at the end. Um, but I kind of thought about it more. Let's assume 2010, 2015 being Undertale's release date. Let's assume that's the year that Frisk fell into the mountain, and that's when we play the game, right? There had to be, another series of events prior, all the other children falling to the underground, and then at the first child falling to the underground had to have another date as well. And I kind of thought about it. What if the date of the incident that is on the shelter code, if it's that date, let me double back. What if the code on the shelter code is the date of the incident, which is the same date when Kara and Azrael fused and passed through the barrier?
So not the fallen child, but the death date.
Yes. Or, well, it could be the same year,
Right. Like they were only there for so long, and then after getting together and trying to leave, they died pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
Either way, like what, 20 years before the start of Undertale? Because monsters don't really age once they hit adulthood, or boss monsters don't.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, Azrael could have been dead for like 20 years at that point.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I feel like the sequence of dates would actually work. That Frisk is in 2015 or 2010, whenever, and 20 years prior, Kara was in the underground and then went through the barrier.
Mm.
Because I think this would lead into the next theory, but I'm gonna finish this thought first. It would connect Undertale to Deltarune in a pretty major way. That like they are, there's a lot of imagery of like reflections. That's not a new one. That was like in the waterfall way back when
Oh, the original Chris sprite.
the original Chris Sprite and the reflection in the water, which you have to toggle with a code, I believe. Um, and like chapter 4 had the whole thing with the two dark worlds that were connected, and like one was upside down and like a parallel world.
Yeah, it was
Like
twisted.
yeah, like I think there is something about like those two games being connected in like a
Kind of like a funhouse mirror. Everything's like reversed. Everything's topsy turvy. I mean,
yes,
the monsters
yeah,
are on the
yeah,
surface.
Yeah,
and no magic is present. They're living the lives of humans, essentially.
exactly. So I don't know if this is like a complete dead end of a of a theory, but like I did kind of consider that. One of the major questions with that would be like, Undertale pretty much states that the humans are on the surface. So if Kara and Azrael fused and then crossed the barrier and went to the surface, like they saw a bunch of humans up there, right?
Yeah, they
But that's
got
not the
killed
case in
immediately.
Deltarune because everyone in Deltarune on the surface is a monster, right?
Yeah,
So that doesn't quite check out, but I mean, maybe there's some way to finagle it. I'm just,
humans seem to be kept like they're a rarity, or they're like pets almost. Like they have the book in the library where it's like how to take care of your human that Toriel checked out like what 10, 20 times. It's
yeah.
almost like they're like a chinchilla or something. They're like an exotic pet.
I think they're kept a secret for the narrative because we're not supposed to know, and I
Mm.
think there's quite a good reason for that, which is a very unpopular take,
Or the whole death's human theory
which is
thing.
I believe that's maybe human, or I have not
Well,
written it off.
I mean, it would explain why the holidays and the dreamers spent so much time together. Initially, they were the only two
Mm-hmm.
families with adoptive human children. I mean, that would explain it because yeah, sure, their kids all like liked spending time together, but kids like that, like the richest couple in town and the police chief, would they hang out every day? Besides that, well, actually, yeah, probably because he was friends with Rudy since college. But let's forget about that. But
It's relevant.
it is relevant, but that would explain why Chris has this kind of undying loyalty to Des, why they have this attachment to Des, why they seem to think of her
Yeah,
as someone that they look up to and who's cool. And not just that, but the fact that Azrael was so infatuated with her also, and he was always there, kind of like the third wheel, even back then. It was something that he's always been around, this kind of monster human relationship. It's normalized to him. It makes sense, or them.
yeah. I definitely think like the infatuation that Chris had for Des, or has even, is kind of like, you know it's kind of like an older sister kind of thing. Like you just have like this older kid, you know, in the friend circle that you just kind of think is super cool, and you're looking up to them for some inexplicable reason. But like, I think it's a bit deeper than that because like, you know, Chris copies the knight's poses for one. Like they have all the, you know, if we go off the theory that the knight is Des in some form, shape, form, um, they have the same poses. Like Chris plays the guitar in the band game in chapter 3,
Mm-hmm.
which is Des's instrument, right? Um, if Des was a human, is a human, I don't know what the correct terminology would be right now,
They used
considering the
now
circumstances.
they're an amalgam or a goner. There's something else entirely.
We'll
They
get to
seem
that
to
in a
be a
second.
walking corpse, which would
Yeah,
basically be a monster. It's like a skeleton. How can skeletons exist with humans have bones in them? It's something else entirely.
you're making that up. Humans don't have bones. You're trying to scare me.
Yeah.
But
They,
I think like the headband thing that Chris like wore, like monster headbands to fit in with
yeah,
the
the
Dreamers.
horns.
Like I think Chris was too young to figure that out themselves, and it's kind of like, well, you see an older kid doing the same thing, you're just gonna copy them, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially if they're the only one who looks like you in the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that might genuinely be what it is. That like I've had this feeling for a while that like there's a lot of parallels between the Dreamers and the Holidays. They both have like a doomed romance with Chris and Noel, and then Azrael and Des. They're both divorced. Like it's just a narrative parallel that you're definitely meant to notice. And the only solid piece of evidence I've seen people say that Des is not a human is a pair of shoes in her bag, which is like, okay, that could be Noel's pair of shoes because they're fitted for hooves, right?
Right, but she has the gigantic mountain of shoes in her room.
She has the pile of red Converse in her closet, which is not elaborated on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like, I don't know. I could see going either way. The reason I think she may be human is because of, like you said, the amalgam night theory, which is now kind of popping off. Um, I guess like to explain in short or long, I guess we should do long because it's a podcast. But
Yeah, people like to know
I do like
all
to
the
know.
details, all the nitty gritty.
I think chapter 5's weird route was very interesting, very very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
With the you know, it's essentially like a boundary break, a speedrun
Yeah,
strat,
it's
like
the two cheater characters, or the cheater and the speedrunner, or whatever you want to call them. The two characters that are integral to breaking the game.
the cheater and the QA tester that
Yeah,
manages to break everything. Um, I've kind of had this feeling that you know everything we do in the Weird Route may be retracing the steps of Des and Azrael in a way,
mm-hmm.
and I think the chapter 5 Weird Route ending really kind of confirmed this to me that like you know we're submerging ourselves in the lake and like no clipping into the depths essentially into chapter 7 into
Yeah,
like
we're literally sequence breaking.
sequence breaking into the last chapter of the game and the like lake imagery with the water, it's kind of like a return to chapter 1 with the Goner maker when we're creating our character,
Yeah, under the
because that was
sea.
also within the depths within water. There's a lot of like water abyss imagery with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this chapter also has a lot of allusions to not wanting to really unveil anything that has to do with the water, with the whole thing with
Hmm.
Onion Sun being presumably, butchered and turned into octopus balls by one of
Oh yeah,
Gaster's goners.
the crazy follower number 3 that everybody's beaming up to be a
Yeah,
serial
everyone's
killer.
in love with now.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think we're essentially retracing the steps of Des and probably Azrael, because Azrael, like just like Des, is kind of like a complete question mark within the story. Like, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Azrael went to college, but we've not heard like a single peep from him the entire
Hmm.
5 chapters so far. So like, I mean, honestly, like if you're asking me, telling a kid, oh yeah, your brother went to college, don't worry about it, kind of sounds like
Yeah, your dog went to a farm. You
your
can't
dog
see
went
him
to the,
anymore.
he's away for a long time, but you're gonna see him
Hmm.
again eventually, right? Seems like a
Exactly.
white lie to me. I don't know, but um, I think the same thing happened to Des, honestly, of like no clipping into an unintended area and basically getting stuck and getting stuck in the depths. The depths are associated, theologically and like mythologically with hell, like Hades in Greek mythology. There's like all
Hmm.
this water and abyss imagery that comes up with it. So, I mean, I do think we're just following their footsteps in the weird route. And, the popular theory is that the night is essentially just Chris and Noel merged as an amalgamate and going back in time to chapter 1 or chapter 0 before the events of the story. And this kind of like us making like a bad decision in one of the future chapters like loops back to the first chapter. It's just Homestuck timeline stuff,
Full
right?
on Andrew Hussey stuff.
Like back noir, you know, Lord English, whatever.
Yeah, you end up accidentally creating an undefeatable opponent.
That becomes retroactively like the main opponent, right?
Yes, they've always been there, but only because you made it that way.
Because you made it that way, right? Um, I think that's the current popular theory, which I can totally see happening.
Is that like
Like,
RALSEI car kit or something?
I guess he could be because he's kind of pissed off in chapter 5.
Yeah, well,
He
the
does
reality
care,
of it. Yeah.
and he knows a lot of things he is
He already
crushed
knows everything
by.
that'll happen. He knows something dismal about the fate of the world. Maybe he gave the world a deltarune cancer.
Maybe he did. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I guess Toby
Yeah.
really is a big hack, actually. Just ripping off Delta or Homestuck with all this stuff.
I mean, he's ripping off a lot of stuff, so that's how you're a good artist, if you rip
That's
off
true. If you can rip
50
it off,
different
but no one
things,
cares.
because you're not ripping off just one thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be an amalgam.
That's right. So I think Amalgam Night, time loop stuff, very solid, very good theory.
It's
Makes
possible.
makes narrative sense. However, I think it may also be, honestly, if this is human, you know, I think it would check out that the current night that we see could also just be Des and Azrael merged, like kind of a
Yeah.
Kara and Azrael situation.
Or Desh with Chris's soul, like I was saying earlier, whatever Chris's
Yeah, that
ritual
could also,
was.
yeah.
If that was some way that they were attempting to revive Des, because the night is, if anything, they're like fucking Alphonse from Fullmetal Alchemist. They're an animated suit of armor, but with random organic features like the rib cage opening with the eye inside, with the scream. Everything about it is very undead.
Yeah.
It's not like a regular darkener or lightener or anything we've seen before. It's something in between. I
So
think
it's
that's
something
kind of
in
what they were
between, like a
also.
goner.
Yeah, exactly. It's neither within the dark or the light. It's black and white, yet it's gray. Interesting.
Very
But I mean,
interesting.
it's kind of the same thing with the Gerson zombie little figurine thing. Is
Mm-hmm.
everything about it was portraying like something that came back to life that should not have. It came back wrong. It's like decaying. It's monstrous, and it's something that actively inspires fear and horror and disgust from the people who knew it before. Like Susie's reaction to the Gerson zombie thing is like, one, what, abject horror, and two,
Confusion.
believing confusion, but also being
Yeah.
like, oh well, it's still him. Maybe I can get through to him.
Yeah,
So if it
yeah.
is the parallel with that and Des being revived as the knight, that would also explain why Chris is going along with these plans and these ideas, because like, well, it's Des. I have to help her. She's someone that is important to me. She's different now, but she's still Des, right?
Yeah. There's quite a lot of I think memory is probably one of the things that plays a huge role with the night either way, because since chapter 4, like memory and remembrance is like it's the major theme that keeps coming up now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the thing with Gerson is like the night made the first Dark World, and they knew Gerson. So the Gerson we meet as a character is very accurate to how he was in his living time. But Susie only knows Gerson from that instance. She didn't
Yeah,
meet
that
him.
interaction.
Yeah, so when she made her Dark World and the statue animated into like a false copy of Gerson, like that's all she had to draw from. She didn't meet him.
Yeah, it's undeveloped. It's literally undeveloped mentally, physically. It's rotting, falling apart. She remembers the
Yeah.
strength he had, but that's pretty much all that transferred.
So it's kind of like the further away from, the more people forget Gerson, the less he exists anymore, or the less he
Right.
can exist.
I feel
So
like that's really, really exemplified too with the flowers in chapter 5, because they've been around
yeah,
Asgore for 20 years with daily conversation, care, everything, and they are the most like actualized personalities that we've seen so far. They're like the fullest characters from the Darkners.
but they're still illusions. This is the
Mm-hmm.
thing. They're
Yes,
this is
they
something
have
you may
the most memory attached to them.
they have the most memory attached to them, and they thank you like for remembering their memory. But you know, they're still like a facsimile of what humans in Undertale were, because um with the obvious one is like the kids in Undertale were all kids. They weren't
Yeah,
grown ups like the flowers that we meet, which is
that
like a
got
surface level
slaughtered.
one. They didn't get slaughtered.
Yeah.
But the other thing is all the flowers, their aspects are kind of like inversions, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like kindness
Aqua's not
asks for
patient
$2.
whatsoever.
Green asks for $2. Aqua's not patient.
Yellow's
Justice has a
justice is
really.
not absolute.
It's
It
definitely not
changes on a
absolute.
whim.
It's very yeah, flip flop, self-destructive, and
He's very, very fickle. Seth is a pseudo-intellectual.
definitely he's a redditor. They're a redditor. I don't know
They're in
what
love with
Seth is.
Birdley, who's the #1 pseudo-intellectual. They consider them the pinnacle of like intellect.
Well, Burley's an actual true intellectual. It's not even.
Right.
Let's not even go there. But
Yes, Seth's just a sapiosexual, so they can just sense that Birdley's the one.
that's right.
Yeah.
Orange is a coward, or like cries with bullies, etc., etc. Like
What was Blue?
integrity, I think.
Integrity. Doesn't that
But
seem accurate? Since Blue actually heals you and is the one that doesn't want to fight you initially. They're the only one that seems to actually fit their personality trait.
I guess. I mean, I didn't check out all the scenes in the cafe, but I guess Blue does seem pretty accurate to their trait. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, because in the cafe, Green asked them a question and they lie to their face.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
Green asked
Yeah.
for $2, and then
That's it.
integrity is like, that just says cheese. It doesn't actually say give me $2.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so yeah. They all.
They're all illusions,
all,
right?
It's more like they're all playing the character of that, but they don't necessarily know how to do it, and it varies based on each one.
It's because
Like
they're removed
they have
from the original context, because they're just
they all
memories.
have a role to fill, and they're doing it to the best of their ability, but they aren't actually the literal manifestation of that role.
Exactly.
That's why it has that variance.
But the thing is, and I think this is, kind of making a big leap here, but I think this is like a general statement of Deltarune as a piece of fiction, is that there's a lot of debate right now about, is the game just going to be escapism equals bad? Is Susie just going to like lock herself up in Castletown and not come out of her room? And like, is the game just going to say like, oh, you shouldn't do that, that's bad? I think Deltarune really does a thing of like, it frames a lot of things as kind of like constructed, or like, this Twitter user Balder made a theory video on how Deltarune has a lot of like similarities to like the Gnostic worldview of like the world's kind of like constructed and fake. Like it's a video game, right? On a meta scale.
It's his creation, his Deltarune,
right? But I think especially with chapter 5, all the flowers are illusions. They're not really real humans. It kind of doesn't matter because it matters to you, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like you can make real memories in a fake world as long as you carry them with you outside of the game.
Even if the Dark World is essentially like the world's most immersive LARP, the fact of the matter is, Chris and Susie are growing as people, and they have become friends because of it, and that is something that persists into their real life.
Exactly.
And Susie's relationships with Birdley, Noelle, everyone who they've encountered through this have, only improved because of it.
They've grown, right?
Yes. The only issue is completely rejecting that real world and not acknowledging the changes and the positives that are reflected in the real world for the fictional world, I think.
Exactly. I think that's really
the absolute.
This is why I think Noelle and Susie are doomed Yuri, because Noelle is all about like in the weird route about she's tired of the daily routine. She's tired of people not looking where they're walking. They don't see their path. It's like she hates being stuck in a game, right? She wants to break out. She wants to grow wings and fly away.
She's like a self-aware Oblivion NPC.
Exactly. And then Susie on the flip side is like, well,
she wants the game to never end.
She wants the game to never end. If it's up to her, there's no ending. And then she goes to Castletown at chapter 5's ending.
Yeah,
which is a pretty bad portend.
she's actively rejecting freedom. She's offered it and she says no thanks.
Exactly. Because freedom to her is just dysfunctional real life
Yeah.
or light
It's the
world.
room with the chair. It's that sad
Yeah,
apartment.
exactly. But
Even though she has already her life has already changed. But I mean, it's the same thing with Caddy. You know, the same thing with every other character. And I think it's easy to forget because the chapters all come out so far after each other. But everything that's happened in Deltarune so far has happened within the space of what 5 days in the game time. So yes, they are growing exponentially quickly with each passing day. But to everyone outside of that world, their memory of Chris and their memory of Susie is like the basically completely mute kid who only would talk to like his mom and Noelle, right? The
yeah,
memory of Susie is the like horrifyingly scary bully girl who is mean to everyone and pushes everyone away before they have a chance to even speak to her. And yeah, they're acting very differently, very suddenly, but why drop your guard or why completely change the way that you interact with them when to you it's only been like one day of this complete new version of them?
I think the core message of Deltarune, kind of segueing it back into the fiction thing, is I think the roaring, like since chapter one, the whole game is kind of set up as like, well, there's this impending calamity that's going to like destroy the world, right?
Mm.
It's very biblical. It's very like Book of
Yeah.
Revelations, like Titans, and
Apocalypse, Gehenna, whatever you
it's
want to call
it's
it.
basically apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
But I think, kind of tying that to Toby saying, well, there's only one ending in the game, right? So everything we're doing in the weird route is essentially like pointless, or
Yeah.
you cannot stop the apocalypse is essentially the takeaway from this. That like,
Yeah.
you know,
No matter
I think
what
it
branches there are, the end is always the same. It always leads to the same point as
exactly.
time goes on.
So I think what really the message to take away from that is that fiction has to come to an end. Like
Mm-hmm.
a game has to end. It has to conclude. The only thing worse than a game without an end or a story without an end is one, or sorry, the only thing worse than a game with an end is one without an end.
It's true.
Because
That's
then
the
you're
problem
kind
with
of
everyone else.
wondering like what was the ending supposed to be? Like this is unfinished. This is gonna leave me like completely distraught and wondering, right? That was the problem with Gerson, like his entire character, that he couldn't finish the series, which is like, Tolkien as well, like drawing from that. Lord of the Hammers, Lord of the Rings, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Massively successful fantasy series that never had a proper ending.
yeah, exactly. Like you can only
Yeah. With
wonder at that point.
someone who's
But
very, very influenced by their religion as well, their writings.
oh yeah,
That applies to both Gerson and Tolkien.
and Toby to some extent, I think, even if
Yeah. I
only by
mean,
osmosis, but I think
it is, whatever it is. I suppose that is brave to have a church in your game and in current year and not have everyone affiliated with the evil and actually want to kill you. That's
it
pretty
it's
surprising.
it was very funny to me how like matter of fact and like personable the church was,
Yeah, it's
because it's
basically
like
like a real one.
it's a very Protestant, like East Coast kind of church
Hmm.
with like punch, and like the
Yeah,
sermon
it's
is kind of not really
cool.
serious.
Worship is cool, kids. It's fun. You get to drink juice. Your teacher's
Exactly.
there.
I thought it was very funny and like not really done out of spite at all, but like kind of poking fun at it, you know?
Yeah, it's
Like
very plainly stated. It
it
wasn't built up to be anything more or less than what it is from his memory. It seemed like.
yeah. So I think just to cap off my thought is I think the game is about fiction having to end and fiction having to have a like, an apocalypse, an ending, a closure,
Hmm.
to not leave you wondering, to like not keep you trapped within it for eternity. You know, I'm not gonna say this is subtext to the fan base because I would never. I love you guys, but it's also saying you guys are gonna move on at some point because
Hmm.
you can't be doing deltarune theories like us in 20 years from now.
Yeah, well, don't worry. This is solving every single problem or every question every has in the series. So after they see this, they'll be completely informed. No
That's
need for
right.
further
That's right.
discussion. This is the end all be all. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too with the weird route, like you're saying. Yeah, it's sequence breaking, but it's still advancing towards the same end. Or even if it is recursive, just because it loops around back and starts at the end of that point, it will still continue down the same path, the same ending.
Yeah, like it's technically not an ending because you're just going back to the start, right?
Exactly.
Um,
It's
I think the
it's
weird route is either
inescapable.
I think the weird route is either going to be that where like it's recursive, or I kind of had this theory since like chapter 2 that the Snowgrave motif is kind of like freezing. You
Mm.
know, if you froze a game, it's like locked up, it can't move anymore. There was the entire thing with the beads on a track in the hospital. Um, and if you
Yeah, the
Snowgrave
Birdly bead.
Birdly, the Birdly bead's gone, right? So I could also see it like, you take out all the unique actors out of the narrative, which means the story can't conclude
Right.
because
It's like intentionally soft locking yourself.
you're freezing the game, you're soft locking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could see that being another route for the weird route, that like you just cannot conclude the story. You prevent the calamity, you prevent the apocalypse, but you know now the world can't end. Now the story can't end. Now you're stuck in like
Yeah.
a story without a purpose, right?
There is no catharsis. There is no ending. There might not even be really
Exactly.
a climax. It would just be the same thing as a regular soft lock in any game. You can walk around, but you're stuck. You are
So
stuck in
it's
that
it's
area. And you
it's like
cannot.
the purified zones and off, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that same sense of unease, that same uh, feeling.
The feeling of what have I done?
Hmm.
But you knew what you were
Yeah.
doing because you had ample chance not to.
Yeah. That would be good. Yeah, I mean, there's already a lot of off references with the nice design in the songs and everything with the bat
Mhm.
purifying the world.
A lot of people are kind of drawing that parallel with the breadcrumbs glitch in Mother One, like
Oh, the
that coming
long
up.
warp. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
even the fact that the world becomes grayed out is very.
yeah. I made a tweet about that saying like I can totally see that being the case because that's essentially what you do in off when you've purified
Mhm.
the world. It's like it's a gray world, there's nothing really in it, and it just reeks of evil. Like I can definitely see that happening in chapter 7.
Yeah, it's a dead world. It's devoid of anything human, loving, or feeling, flat out.
That's right.
Yeah, I
Kind of
am
wonder if
interested.
they're good.
I'm just saying I am interested to see how the weird route ends with what it's going because it is pretty ambitious stuff. I mean, I know the genocide route. The whole thing is like you can replay the game, and it is a completely different experience. And it tries to respect your time because I don't think there's ever been anyone who, on their first playthrough of Undertale, went out of the way to do genocide without knowing already what genocide is and what that entails.
Yeah.
So it's very clearly intended for people on their second, third playthrough. And the weird route's the same. It cuts out literally what 60-70% of chapter 2. You pretty much go straight from freezing random enemies, freezing Birdly, then straight to the end of the chapter and fighting the souped up Spamton Neo.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like right there. Like there's your reward. You get to skip all this dialogue. You get purely gameplay. You get a different narrative. You get all these other things. But continuing with it and continuing with the way things are going in this alternate story, I do have to wonder what exactly the message is of it as well.
I
Because
think people have kind of put together what the message might be, which I think it kind of ties into the entire narrative of the game of like, or rather, I think it ties into the narrative of the genocide route even in Undertale, where it's kind of like, the genocide route is essentially like you're squeezing the game for the
yeah,
rest of the content it has,
you
right?
because you can do something, you have to do it. That's the whole thing with genocide.
Exactly. So
But with
like,
the weird route, that's what I'm saying. If it is like you're saying, and it has to happen because the night is Chris and Noel, so that means the events of the weird route had to occur. You had to do them, right? Then
yeah,
what is the message there? If genocide is actively telling you you are responsible for killing these things because you are bored because it is fun for you, what is the weird route trying to say?
I think the weird route is gonna say something similar to the genocide route of like there is a consequence to doing this route, and it's not like a moral consequence. You know, that was kind of the thing that people thought, oh, if you do the
Mm-hmm.
genocide route, the game calls you a bad person.
Toby's being
Which
mean to me for killing everyone.
exactly, I don't think that's really the case. I think it's more like, you know, you've seen everything there is to the game, and now the consequence is that you have to know that you can no longer wonder. Like you've you know squeezed blood from a stone essentially. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with all the boundary break stuff in Deltarune and Noel having the wish to like fly away from hometown, um, and like this, this sense that like everything in the game is constructed and fake. People have gone so far as to say that we saw a glimpse of like the other side of the lake in chapter 5, and it like
Yeah.
slowly turns gray. People kind of like theorize like, oh, what if everything outside of hometown doesn't exist? What if we're like within this bubble of
Right.
like reality that
This
like,
is Gaster's construction. It's just this kind of control group that he's made.
yeah, like the small town, kind of like a Truman Show kind of setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I think it's kind of, you know I think the weird route might be you want to see what's on the other side, even if it's nothing, even if it's gray and dead
Yeah.
and empty.
I think
But
that
then
also
you
comes into play. I think that's supported also by the Chapter 3 Egg Room, the Man Country.
yeah,
When you look through the binoculars, everything is grayed out, nothing. And they say like, oh, this place looks evil. This place
it
looks
reeks of
wicked.
evil. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think it's like you do get to like, if you choose to break out and see the world outside, even though you're not meant to, you will learn that there's nothing there because it's outside of the narrative, right?
Yeah. It's
And
like
then
all those
you're
old
faced.
games. It's the glitch cities. It's the Minus
Yeah,
Zone.
yeah, yeah.
It's all that stuff.
Weird route will be you get to see the boundaries of the game, and there's nothing there, and you learn that the world is fake and not worth remembering because you know it's
It's a
constructed.
game.
It's a game, right?
Yeah.
It holds no value because it's not real.
I think was it Toby who said that if people play his inspirations, they'll realize how
How much of a
uncreative
hack
he
he
is.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that would be pretty much very. It would be very derivative of the ending of Moon. Did you finish that one?
I did not play Moon, but I
Okay.
have heard about it. Yeah,
The
what
ending of
happens in
Moon
it?
is literally you go to the final stage with the dragon, and instead of defeating it or killing it or whatever final action you want to take against it, instead the game pulls back to you, the player who originally started the game, watching the TV, and the way that it's supposed to end is you turn the game off and go outside in real life,
Hmm.
and that's the ending. It literally pulls you out of the world to remind you that this is a fictional world and there is a whole world outside of it, and it ends very abruptly.
Well, I think one of my friends that played Moon very much said they thought the ending was very cynical and kind
Oh,
of,
Jason.
you know, that was Jason. That's right.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember.
yeah, he was not a fan of how Moon ended, and I kind of feel like Toby will not retread the same ground. You
Yes,
know,
I think it'll be a variation of that, but I think you're onto something. I think that with everything that they've
I think
shown,
it'll be. I think the normal route will be a bit more hopeful. Honestly, that like,
yes, yeah,
you
but I
know,
think it fits for the weird route when you have also gone out of your way to
yeah,
not
yeah,
only like break the game and hurt people, but also to do it, you have to kind of yourself acknowledge I am playing a game, I am min maxing, I am cheating, I am sequence breaking. it fits the narrative. It's like, okay, you want to see what's hidden inside the game? There isn't anything. You've gone through everything, and now you've got this kind of never-ending purified zone type of thing. You're stuck in this grayed out world because you couldn't resist trying to disassemble and pick apart everything.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really you know, I think it's reflective in the characters as well. In Genocide Routed, like Kara's a min-maxer, right?
Yeah.
Kara's like, well, 9 is the best number because it's the highest number. You just want to do more damage. You just want to be max level. You want to like kill everything and like get through the content. And the consequence of doing that is you've reduced everything to a number. Like I think that's really the big statement of the Genocide route, that once you've reduced everything to a number, you can no longer care for it in any other way. Like you can't do the pacifist route because everything's still a number to you because you've done the Genocide route.
You've lost the ability to care.
Exactly. And I think the Weir route is kind of like, well, you've cheated at the game, you've seen out of bounds, you know everything there is. You can't really go back from that. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't, believe in magic anymore because,
you broke through the machine code. You tried to see the Matrix, and it turns out instead of getting Jesus powers and stopping bullets, you just get a big gray field.
Yep. And that's really the only way that can go.
And I think that's a more apt ending than I know there's people who are like, oh, I can't wait for the end of the Weird route where you get this whole alternate fight against God Gaster. And it's like, why would you ever think that would happen?
That will never happen.
Not in all likelihood. Years. No. There's zero reason for that to happen thematically or even like character wise. Gaster is not YHVH from Shin Megami Tensei. He's not this self-indulgent, egotistical ruling force. He's a scientist, even in his current state. If his creation is rebelling against him, he'll just trap you in the fucking goner zone. He's not going to personally descend down and fight you on his own terms. He would never do that. That would never happen.
I think it'd be more likely that Gaster will do what he did to himself, of like, well, I've shattered myself across time and space. I've realized everything's a game. Mm-hmm. This is my game now, deltarune. Like, it's all a fake constructed reality. Like, let me show you how that feels. Let me show you, like, seeing the world as a fake, construct.
Space dust.
Yeah, like I think that'd be more likely than a Gaster boss fight, because
I think
honestly, Gaster is just a self-insert for Toby, as like it's like game dev commentary. It's like a meta thing. Mm-hmm. Like Toby's the developer of Deltarune, as is Gaster. It's like this aspect of Toby of like seeing his game as like an experiment because he likes torturing us, right?
Yeah, I mean the fact alone that he literally role plays as Gaster on a yearly basis on his Twitter page.
Like, I mean, that's evidence enough, but it's like there's a lot more, don't have to get into it, but like it really just is like, it wouldn't make sense for Toby to put himself as a boss fight in the game. I think it's a little bit silly.
It'd be even though it would be pretty sick.
It would be.
I think it's people who. It's just funny because it's like, okay, now that I've done this route that is completely breaking and going against all the conventions of this game and doing everything possible to alter the game and to kind of like put the mirror up and show the game that it is a game. I want the most normal JRPG final boss fight ever as my reward.
But it has to be hype moments in aura.
Yeah, I want Gaster hype moments in aura, literally.
Yeah. I think I would like if Gaster was a pirate. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, hey, there's my next costume for Mag. So long, Senor Pink. Hello, Pirate Gaster.
Are you going to do Pirate Gaster?
I was thinking about it.
Pretty good.
I was thinking about Flowery. I told Joanna. She said, you can't be Flowery because you look nothing like him.
Just get a wig.
I know. Doesn't she know?
I think you could do it. You don't have the voice though. You have very much too low of a voice for Flowery.
I'll make it work.
I think it'd be good.
Yeah, let's bring the Bit Crusher with me on site.
What's your favorite flowery quote? Just
Flowery quote. I mean, I like just the standard Girona, honestly.
Gerona's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like very fighting game, very like Mugen
Yes. Yeah,
character
yeah.
kind of voice clip.
Calling out your move.
Yeah, like I could. It's a kind of voice clip you could stand hearing 800 times in sequence and you'll still like it.
I think for me it's a Stingus.
A sting. Yeah, that's another one. That's another like super
Stingus is
Mugen.
like it. I was kind of like, what the hell does Stingus mean? And it's just a complete nonsense
Yeah,
word.
it does. It doesn't
But
matter at all.
it's like phonetically, like it just sounds like something, and I just find it like super fun for some reason. I don't know. Stingus is good.
Yeah, it's very Mugen.
Yeah. All right. Any more theories? Because I got 1.5.
Yeah, what's left? I mean, we've been what the main overarching stuff. You want to get into what's the real deep stuff? The biblical allusions.
Sorry, you're getting Gaster right now and breaking up a little bit.
I said the deep stuff is the biblical allusions, right? That's the really important stuff that people want to overlook or they don't maybe fully understand. We've kind of been into the the narrative thematic stuff, explaining all that mostly, and things that can be kind of things that you don't require additional reading. You don't have to play Brandish or whatever to get or read any of the Bible. So let's get into the real meat. Let's get into the biblical stuff.
Oh yeah, I have one major one I realized just yesterday that was gonna fire off as a tweet, but I just saved it for this. I had a realization about the Amalgam Night and to some extent the Kara and Azrael sequence in Undertale, where they merge and cross the border, the barrier, in before the game's events. And I was kind of thinking about, what actually happens in the Weir route in Deltarune. If the Amalgam Knight theory holds some water, what do we as the player do? We're essentially using do what with the beast?
Lay with the beast. Chris and Noel.
Sort of, yes. In a fashion, yes. I mean, we're basically possessing Chris as a medium, and if the player angel theory holds some water, then we're a fallen angel in the weird route. Biblically speaking, we're not doing something very good with Chris.
Satanic.
So we're pretty bad, pretty satanic. So we're essentially using Chris as a medium and using up Noel in a fashion, which if you read Genesis 6, I believe, it's basically like referenced there. Like using up Noel to create a knight, right? It's basically mirroring the Nephilim ritual, which is like,
angels,
a human calling down an angel.
Uniting.
Yeah, that's right.
Making
like
a disgusting. Well, are the giants the Nephilim or are the giants like Goliath descendants of Nephilim?
The giants are Nephilim. I think Genesis literally just says it's there were giants in those days walking the earth. Like Nephilim is, I think, I'm maybe lying here, but maybe the Hebrew term for the giants.
Yeah,
in that context,
half human, half angel hybrid.
Half human, half angels. That's right.
They are abominations. They are the reason why the earth needed to be purged with a flood. Go underneath the depths, you could say.
That's right. The water imagery is
wait a minute, isn't that where the Titans live? In the depths, in the darkest darkness?
Yes.
They're darker yet darker?
A Titan is nothing but a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, this is like Book of Enoch stuff too. Like the Watchers, like the fallen angels themselves, are like chained in gloomy darkness. There's like a passage where it's like saying, take Azazel and throw him into a pit in the desert and bind him in chains of gloomy darkness.
Azazel was the fiery sword angel, right? The one guarding the garden.
That's Michael.
That's Michael.
Azazel is just a, I think, personification of Satan,
Ah,
and like the association with Satan is like he's supposed to live in the desert because nothing grows in the desert. It's kind of like the
yeah, it was
boundary of
dead. It was
the,
barren.
yeah, it's like the boundary of the world, and nothing can flourish there. So that's very interestingly, that's where the scapegoat rite comes in. That you would put all your sins onto the goat and then
Mm,
send it out into the desert to Azazel, right? You're putting the sin on the goat and send out the goat where it belongs,
the
which is
goat. Hmm.
the sins belong in the desert. So now think about phonetically that the devil was called Azazel, and we have a little goat that was a scapegoat for all the sins of the world and
Yes, in
Undertale named
Undertale.
Azrael,
And he's
which
got his own
is,
reflection in Deltarune with RALSEI.
but Ralsei kind of scares me, to be honest.
Well, I don't think RALSEI is really
He
Azrael. I think his
he isn't,
form is
yeah.
chosen. I don't think it's his actual form that he was given when he was formed as a Darkener. I think that dark mass under his hat is what he really is.
Yeah, I don't know what Ralsei is. Like,
I think
I
he's
mean, don't
literally darkness
you think so?
condensed. I think so. I think that the
There's
dark prince form he has underneath the robe and underneath the cloak and the hat is what he really is. Even the fact that his head completely changes shape, his entire anatomy shifts when he takes off the hat and has to take on a new form. That is
That
not
could
what he
just be a
really
stylistic
is.
thing.
I don't know. I don't think so because
So
they keep it with chapter 5 when he puts the hat back on. He goes back to that dark form.
so do you think all the tree imagery with Ralsei is like a red herring? Because there's
Oh,
quite
like
a
with
lot.
the finest pinest.
The finest pinest, and then his door in
Mm-hmm.
Castletown looking like a pine tree, and then his sprite itself looking like a pine tree,
The
like a Christmas
tree.
tree, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I don't know,
and
man.
then the whole thing with
Well,
the
whatever
the
he is, he is not. He is not Asriel. He's not like a Gerson situation. I know that
yeah.
for a fact. He's not actually
Well,
whatever type of boss monster the
he
Dreamers
he
are.
he could be a memory of Asriel. I could see that in some fashion. That like he isn't him, but he's like a changed memory or misremem like or Chris's memory of Asriel in some way, but not really him. Because I think the scene with Asgore really pointing out that people like complain about this, that like, oh, Asgore only interacted with Ralsei like for 1 second and then pointed out that he doesn't look anything like his son.
Yeah,
You know,
well, that's the point
I
they've been kind of hammering in though since like chapter 2 or the end of chapter 1 even.
yeah, it's kind of like, for one, Asgore only saw him in shade, like they're by the fountain, so he couldn't really
Yes,
see Ralsei, who was wearing a hat the entire time. Um, and two, it's kind of like Asgore seeing his like true being, like his essence, his soul, even, and like he would recognize his own son, obviously,
right.
but Ralsei is like something completely different from Azrael. So I think that scene really did do its job, but it's kind of still like a question, like what the hell is Ralsei? Like really?
He is something else. If he's a tree and he is originating in that supply closet, then how would that make sense? That's the thing. Like is he or is he some sort of like Yggdrasil kind of world tree freakish thing? Is he? Or I feel like it makes more sense for him to be literally if it is a completely empty space inside of that closet with the dark fountain, the initial dark fountain, and there's nothing but darkness, kind of like a Big Bang situation. The darkness itself would form, and it is only given greater form upon interacting with other things around it and bringing other things to it. Is kind of what I was thinking.
I think the Yggdrasil, however you pronounce it, thing is kind of I didn't even think about it that way, but I kind of see that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People have drawn real life like parallels that a pine tree has a root system that kind of spans an absurdly wide distance,
Mm-hmm.
and then apparently there's a tree in Utah, like a foresty kind of autumn looking tree with yellow leaves. It's actually like one organism, like it's actually all the same tree,
It's like
which does
sprouting
look
up. That like the branches are other trees, basically.
basically, yes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it's all the same tree in its essence, but they look like an entire forest.
So, are you saying
Um,
that Rousey is the source of all dark world creatures and environments stemming from that fountain initially?
are you saying he's echidna?
Yeah, is that what you're saying?
That's not what I was saying, but that's a very interesting theory that you just came up with, and you're
Oh,
getting all the
nice.
credit for that.
All right, I'll take it.
Um,
Because
no,
if
I
that
was
is,
saying, I think RALSEI might just be a central pine tree within hometown somewhere. There's a tree or a street in hometown we have not seen
yes, the
that
repressed
people are
street.
suspecting there is. Yeah, there could be something there. I don't know. Um, but just if let's say there is a gigantic or like a pine tree somewhere in hometown that has roots spanning everywhere that could all connect to the dark worlds around the town.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that like mechanically, logistically. Um, but I don't know. That's just one theory. I like the echidna one that you just came up with. That sounds kind of cool.
That actually, yeah, actually, that is. I think that is what it is. I think that follows the
It might,
darkness
yeah,
idea. If it is the initial darkness, and it does take these shapes and these forms from the memories and the stimuli being put upon it, I feel like that makes more sense to me than a than like a pine tree, because
it could
the
be
dark
both.
world is despite everything with it being like, oh, it's not real, it's fictional, it is unquestionably, it is magic. It's
Yeah,
an illusion, but it's magical. You can get hurt by it, you are impacted by it, the memories you make are real. When the fountain is gone, it goes back to reality, but magic is real there. Magic has to also be real in the real world for the dark fountain whole ritual to even make sense. Everything with Caddy also talking about magic, hexes and rituals and all that stuff. All that stuff is real. Maybe necessarily they weren't always doing real things that worked, but like whatever ritual they were talking about with Chris obviously did work.
it did
Whatever
work.
ritual they discovered to create fountains does work. Magic is not something that necessarily is easy to come by, but it is real. So I don't think it's ridiculous to think that darkness itself uh, has this magical property as well, and he has this sort of sentience in the world of Deltarune.
Yeah, I think the dark fountain, like creating a dark fountain, is essentially like a ritual as well. Like they've described it pretty
Oh yeah,
much
absolutely.
like that.
You have
Oh
to
yeah, you
stab
just
the earth with deep intent.
with deep intent, and you use a knife, which is always like
Mm-hmm.
a ritualistic thing when you're like, sacrificing someone
And the
or
knife is the
something.
one thing that retains shape between the light and the dark world as well. Found that in chapter
Yeah,
5.
it's very much like you have a will and an intent, and it comes to a point, like in a triangle at the tip of a knife,
Yes, I
and
think
like
that is what magic is, right? It's like most basic definition. It isn't exerting your will onto the universe to force
yeah,
change. Yeah,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
exactly what the dark world is. That's what the rituals are doing.
in a you know occultist way, it's kind of like you're trying to bind a demon and like make it do its will for you.
Hmm.
Like you're trying to get this external help to you know enact change in the world in whatever way you would like it to do, which is
Right.
usually a bad deal ultimately. But
Well, we
um
already know that Chris is suffering from that initial ritual. He cannot survive
yes,
without the soul. He's literally
no
lost
matter what
without the
no
soul.
matter what route we take, Chris is like in for some deep shit because like it's taking a toll on their body. Like we pick choices they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
like, which is
He's lost
unavoidable.
agency. He's lost their sense of self.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, if Gaster is this world's angel and devil, or interchangeable, whatever you want to call it, making a deal with him just because he's the funny skeleton man, that does not mean it will end favorably for you in any way.
yeah. I'm trying to think about broader themes and how they relate to. I mean, yeah, I think Deltarune is, even Undertale is very ripe with a lot of these kind of theological concepts that, I if I were to give someone that's like a theory minded person, I would say, read the Bible, read Book of Revelation, and try to
Mm-hmm.
like cross reference what Deltarune does, because there's so much in there. He basically directly quoted the passage from Book of Revelations about a falling star turning the waters of the earth bitter, like the falling star wormwood in Book of
Yeah,
Revelations. That's in chapter 4, like nearly 1-to-1. Like, it's clearly like an inspiration. Um, the repeated mentions of demons, and like, people are fascinated by the vice friend as like this demonic entity, or Eram, or whichever.
yeah,
You know,
friend.
some people think Eram's separate. Some people think they're the same. I don't know. I'm throwing my hands up here, but
Either way, if they're a device, that's also interesting. Since I mean, it fits with Gaster's role as the Satan of this world, or
yeah,
the demiurge, I suppose, because the devices are all his creations. So it
yeah,
would fit that he would create these kind of enforcers
they're
to.
they're all in their service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there's mentions of angels. Whether the player's the angel, or if Gaster is the Lord of Chaos and Order. Like, there could be multiple angels at work. We're kind of like a higher being as well in terms of the narrative. Like, that's stuff that was in Undertale as well. That, like,
Yeah.
we had the prophecy in Undertale of Gerson saying, well, there's going to be an angel people believe is going to show up, and they're going to liberate the underground. Some people think they're going to bring everybody to the surface. Some people think they're going to kill everybody.
And that's
And that's the
exactly
two
what
routes we
happens.
take, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing. There's some more abstract stuff, like, I mentioned to you, like, the core in Undertale kind of looks like it has horns,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like a Moloch statue, like the bull-headed statue,
Yes, it is
which
not fitting with the rest of the aesthetic of the world. Everything that Gaster
it,
touches is unsettling and unusual.
well, it fits with the theme of child sacrifice within Undertale. People joke about the Dreamers being the LeBron James of suicide, but like, there's a lot of imagery of child sacrifice with
Yeah,
with
I mean,
Asgore in particular.
Asgore literally is the number one child killer in
He is the number
Undertale.
one child killer, and he's a pitchfork wielding Satan. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I think that's kind of like a shallow layer of it, and I think the core Moloch statue, whatever Gaster is doing, like, Gaster essentially like committed ritual suicide, falling into his own creation, into the core, right?
Yes.
And like, one of the Goner followers basically says, like, is Alphys gonna meet the same fate? Like, is she gonna do the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
And there's quite a lot of lines in Undertale that basically allude that, like, yeah, she's also suicidal in some form. Like,
Yeah. Not necessarily for the same reason, but maybe in that
yeah,
same pursuit of knowledge that she doesn't understand. She doesn't really fully grasp the responsibilities and the things that have been entrusted to her. They're all still beyond her understanding.
I mean, all the True Lab stuff that she did with determination and everything, like, people, it was kind of a meme that people really did not like Alphys for that for the longest time, because
Mm-hmm.
she's basically committing this like
Cardinal
unspeakable
sin.
sin.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, if she wanted to exit out because of that, that's kind of like a foregone, not foregone conclusion, or but like kind of like understandable.
Yeah, she's
Like,
got an unbelievable amount of guilt eating away at her before the game even
yeah,
begins.
and I think a lot of these things just are. I mean, they're kind of culturally baked in, but I think a lot of it also is just biblical in some fashion. You know, like the burden of knowledge, peering in too deep, like burying yourself in sin and then not really knowing what to do
Yes, and
and doubling down.
that is kind of the raw deal that Gaster got. He does gain omniscience, but on the other hand, he is shattered across space and time. He can observe everything at all times, but he is helpless to do anything at all, essentially. Like that's, I
He's
think
no
that's what the
longer
Goner
physical.
outright says, right? It's rude to talk about someone who's listening.
Yeah,
Gaster is present at all places at all times.
yeah. That's, I guess, kind of like, history lesson, or not history, but like a knowledge check here, that most people don't really, at least I've observed on Twitter, a lot of people don't really understand the significance of like why Gaster is associated with 666,
Mm.
but that it's like, you know, numerologically speaking, um, 6 is a very solid number, and it kind of like signifies like physicality and
Yes, it's
like,
not just atheist edginess. There's a real
yeah, like
reason for it.
666 isn't just it's evil number, right?
Yeah.
That's what you should think. It's more like it's a very strong, solid number, and 7 is like a divine number because it's all the physicality plus like 1 plus the border, the margin, the unseeable things,
The
the out of
boundary.
bounds, right? The
Yeah.
boundary, right? So 666 in a way is like trying to approach 7 but not getting there.
I feel like
Like,
Deltarune at this point is the only game that could make the fucking 687 or 789 joke work in a horror sense.
well, it's definitely going to do the 6-7 joke with
Yeah. With
chapter 6
rules.
and 7. 687.
Mm.
I mean, some people suspect there's going to be an 8th chapter. Maybe.
Who knows? I wouldn't put it past them. Yeah,
Could see it happening.
Gaster is 666.
Yeah,
He is.
because, yeah, 666 signifies like complete physical presence and accountability, and like knowing every single little thing that happens in your like physical world, but it doesn't include the like the thing you can't account for, like the divine, the holy, right?
Mm-hmm. All that can be
So
observed, he has knowledge of. I mean,
yeah,
that's also the reason why he still is observing. That's the reason why Gaster only commentates on things that he, I assume, has not seen before or does not anticipate. Things that
he
surprise
finds
him.
interesting,
It's
right?
interesting. He likes
Because
being interested in things. He's actively searching to be interested in things.
we are the one variable that he has not seen,
Mm-hmm.
because we are, you know, out of bounds. We are the one unaccountable variable. We can do things that are not intended within a narrative. We can beat the knight, which is not intended. Like,
Yes.
the knight is literally one of those fights that you're supposed to lose, which like every other game, every other JRPG has, like, you meet the villain, they just one shot you. That's like intended. So like the fact we can beat that is like very interesting to Gaster.
Yes, he wants to see what happens. Even if it doesn't change anything, the fact that you are actively fighting against it in this new way is worth his attention.
Yeah. And I guess the question is, why does he find it interesting? Is he trying to learn from it? Is he trying to use it against us or his creation? Or like, I guess that's kind of like the question of like, what is Gaster's, or what is Toby's intent really? Because Gaster's just, again, a self-insert for Toby.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on a meta sense, it might be Toby wants to see our reaction to these things. Toby wants, he said this as much in the 10th anniversary stream, that he invites people to think about things outside of the game. Like we've always had the keys to like imagine what's in the game that's not like literally physically present and shown, right?
Yes.
Like he's shown like snippets of areas that, you know, we've wanted to access but couldn't.
Right. The expanded underground, the underseas, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
And that's really all just like an invitation to like imagine even more. And I think it's really just priming for Deltarune. Like I think that was the purpose of the 10th anniversary stream, to like get us wondering more about Deltarune specifically. And I think that's really it, of like what does Toby want from us? What does he want to see? And I think he wants to see creativity. He wants to see us like imagine and make alternate universe Sanses with Papyrus boss fights. You know,
Yeah. Make Underfell.
Underfell 5 coming out soon. You know, um,
Yeah. It's literally, it is the creator seeing these new and exciting ways that the players go about completing their game.
yeah.
It's all things that are possible, but why would you do it?
I was actually talking with a friend about this yesterday. That he mentioned that you know, there's been a lot of medias that have kind of tackled this like theory fandom. You know, like I mean, Homestuck for one. A lot of people theorized about where the story was going, and it was like participatory. And before that, it was kind of like Lost. You know, the TV show,
How it's changed by fan interaction.
or like, you know, they just kind of looked online what kind of theories people had about what the show was, because they themselves just didn't know,
Yeah, it just
and we're
changed
just
it.
going with, they just changed with whatever sounded coolest. But I think, you know, it's kind of been done before with like the theorizing and like participatory fan base, but Deltarune feels kind of like it's asking people to participate very actively in like a good, healthy fashion,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really change the outcome of the story. I think Toby's very set on what he wants to do,
Yeah, it's been kind of
but
core thing. The whole that's kind of the mythos of it too. The whole fever dream
yeah,
ending from the
it's
very
very much set in
beginning.
stone of what the ending will be.
Yeah.
But I think Deltarune does do a very good job of including people in the equation, but also kind of like it feels to me like it's priming people to make their own things, their own stories. You know, I mean, there's like a lot of like fan games obviously coming out, which is
Hmm.
kind of like people dipping their toes in game dev and like storytelling, because, you know,
I mean, it's been a big thing with like our show too, or the regular episodes outside of this little fun one. There's so many people who've come on and they said like, oh, my inspiration was I played Undertale, which is made by like
yeah,
what, two people, and I realized that it was possible if you really wanted to make something like this. It completely changed the trajectory of the lives of so many people. It made them want to create, and I think that's, you know, really commendable, regardless of if you actually like the game or not. I think that's something really impressive.
yeah, it's obviously like, you know, showing that it's possible for one, with Undertale, but I think Deltarune is even more like, I want you guys to think the way I do. I want you
Mm.
guys to like imagine worlds and characters and events and like themes and symbolism. A lot of symbolism. Like this is something I think is really unique, that like Toby invites people to think about games symbolically, which is like I've never really seen that before.
Like to treat
Of
it as
like,
an actual piece of art that you can analyze and think about instead
yeah,
of
like
purely a piece of enjoyment or
it's like you would
consumption.
see that stuff with like Eva maybe,
Yeah.
of like, well, people draw, you know, these like conclusions from these symbols being used, but like every other game I see, no one does that. Every
Yes.
other like anime or something, people don't really do that.
And it's the
Deltarune
same
is very
thing too.
exceptional.
like Eva's a good example because for every person that writes like a college dissertation on Eva, you've got like 80 people making comics where Ray is talking, babbling incessantly about like the contents of a Honda Nissan fucking manual while Shinji's crying because he didn't get the PlayStation 3 in the corner, you know?
That's I love that comic too.
It's
It's very
yeah, but
funny.
it's the same thing with deltarune. Like for every time people make something like this, you know, like oh, it's got all this depth. There's all these biblical allusions, and Toby's got so much planned out. You know, I'm sure I could open Twitter right now and we'll see like the Last of Us little meme or whatever. Where it's like Chris holding Noel's head under the water or something. It's
Yeah,
all within the same fans. You know, it's all the same people who are enjoying these things. I'd like to believe. Like I think it's funny, and I can
it
still think that
is.
it's worth thinking about critically and thoughtfully. You know.
Yeah, it is 100% the same people because, I mean, even like silly fan art, it's kind of like you want to imagine these characters doing these kinds of things because
Yeah.
it's funny and it's kind of just true. Like, I mean, one of the funniest things I saw recently was like all the major characters like looking in a mirror, like Chris looking in a mirror and like dissociating and like who is that in the mirror? I can't recognize them. And
Mm-hmm.
Noel kind of like just, be completely broken, and then Susie's like looking in a puddle and like it's like completely like sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then Birdley's looking in a mirror and just going like, "Mom, call the police. There's a handsome man in the
Yeah.
mirror." And it's just like, yeah, I mean that's Birdley, you know.
Yeah. The gold
They they
statue, nipples in the perfect
they
world.
it's just a testament to like how well people understand these characters,
Mm-hmm.
and now like I mean it just carries forward to whatever else people make in the future, you know. Like this kind of stuff sticks.
Yeah,
And I
it
think it's
raises the
really
bar as a whole. I think.
it raises the bar, but it's just a good influence on people like creating and just like wanting to make their own stuff. Like I think that's kind of why the message of the game, which I would bet $500 on this. That's all my bank account right now. That the message of the story will just be like fiction has to end and you have to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Like the roaring will happen, the world will end. You got to move on, but you can't. You should remember all these things fondly. You should keep them
Yes.
close to your heart. You know,
Be glad that it happened, but it is
be
not
glad it
everything.
happened.
You must release it. I mean, that's the whole thing with chapter 5. The fact that it's made
Yeah,
very clear that the flowers only exist for this chapter, and they are given so much time with them. Like the whole chapter, you're given the cafe segments, you're given all these scenes, you're given all this dialogue, but it has to come to an end. No matter how much you like these characters, they will not come back with you to the castle town. Even in the castle town, once you finish deltarune the game, the characters will not leap out of your screen. You're not going to have the Rudin, puttering around on your desk after you finish the game. They're going to be gone. It's the same thing.
I think that's why the Forgotten Man in Chapter 5 was so somber as well, because it's
Mm.
like the final meeting with them, seemingly.
Yes, and
Like,
it's, I think we talked about this too. The whole Fortis thing, the idea that it's not everything. It's not searching endlessly for theories and trying to figure out what it means.
yeah,
Is not all that the game is about. You'll be missing the forest for the trees if you're exclusively looking behind every single tree in the game, trying to find that final elusive secret that'll piece everything together. It's the same thing
exactly.
with Ascor's whole thing. You know, the obsession and the conspiracy and the desire to get to the end of it, even when he's confronted with the indisputable proof that the dark world is real, it doesn't fix his life. It doesn't make him happy. It makes him spiral back into that same obsessive state that he was in before, that distanced himself from his family and his friends. He only really starts acting like himself, or the version that we know him as, when he understands he has to let go of these things after he sees how it is hurting the people he cares about.
It's a good thing you brought that up because I was just gonna get to the final theory, which is Grandpa Semi is finally confirmed.
Yes, the redacted,
The
whoever that could
redacted
be.
sprite is finally confirmed because the smoking gun has finally appeared, and I didn't. It was there the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
which was you know. Do we have to get into the meat of what Grandpa Semi is or redacted? or
For
just like
anyone
kind
who,
of gloss over
yeah,
it.
I guess for anyone who doesn't know what Grandpa Semi is, he was like the cut third skeleton in Deltarune who has leftover data in only the demo, right? He has a cut call.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
cut call and references to like the snail race section in the
yeah.
waterfall.
He would have manned the snail race booth,
Yeah,
but he was a third skeleton who would have been like Sans and Papyrus's grandpa,
yeah,
who was not only
and
completely removed, but also there's nothing about him in any of the art books, posts, anything. He's been erased from
completely
existence.
censored.
He's a
Yeah.
forgotten man, you could say.
So the thing I always found very interesting is, there's the Mystery Man room that everybody knows with the Gaster sprite that's
Yes,
like functionally canon.
shock
Like there's like,
skeleton Uboa.
yeah, and there's another room that was I think water underscore redacted or something, and
Yeah,
it played like really haunting. I think the song was called Premonition. It was like really haunting music and a sprite that's like completely whited out. You couldn't even tell what its silhouette is,
yeah.
and
It's
it
kind of
talks
like
in
a
wingdings.
it's like a cylinder with two strands coming off it. It looks really strange.
Yeah, I've heard people say it looks like a lab coat, and it's like a white smear. But
I
like it,
mean, it's basically a Rorschach test. It's whatever you want to
yeah,
believe it is.
exactly. I've tried to like identify what it is, and like I got nothing. And I
No
would
idea.
really like if I that's like the one thing, like everyone's drawn a Gaster version like to death, but like
Mm.
no one really draws redacted, and I always thought that sprite was a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah, because I
Um,
think this is interesting because you can't determine what it
because
is.
you can't determine what it is, and there's like so much you could,
Mm.
right? And I think that's kind of the point that you know, the sprite's called redacted. It talks in wingdings and says redacted, literally, like it's censored out.
Yeah, like double
Um,
censored.
yeah, and it's it's behind a dog check, which basically means you have to hack the game
Mm-hmm.
or use cheat engine to see it, which de facto makes it not canon
Mm-hmm.
because
Cheaters
like
only. No fun value.
all the other rooms are also like behind a dog check. All the test rooms, um, meaning they're like not important to the game at all, or like de facto
Yeah,
not canon.
essentially
But
garbage data, leftover
yeah,
beta content, cut content, whatever you want to call it.
cut content exactly. But the Mystery Man room is not. So it is canon because you can encounter it within a regular
Mm.
playthrough, I believe.
Yeah, Mystery Man and all of the Goners are all
All
canon.
the
It's all based
goners,
on
yeah.
fun value.
So the thing I found very interesting in chapter 5 was that, before we get to the room with the forgotten man behind the tree, is you know, the annoying dog shows up
Mm-hmm.
and blocks our way. And it's kind of just like, a friend of mine kind of complained that it's really out of place and it's like annoying that he has his like serious section blocked by Toby's
The
dog.
watering minigame.
Yeah. And I kind of agreed until someone pointed out that this is basically just a callback to the dog check, right?
Yes, it's literally a physical dog check, or it's one that you have
Within the
to
game.
actually, yeah,
So you have to think about what that means. It's essentially, in a meta sense, acknowledging a dog check in like the cheating sense, that whatever follows after this is not really canon, but it's in the game, you
mm,
know? Um, I think it's essentially like acknowledging the dog check before the redacted room in like a meta sense. Like it's just another connection between the Forgotten Man and the redacted sprite and Grandpa Semi, I suppose, if they're all the same character.
yes,
That like it is this character, this forgotten man that is like cut content, but he's still within the game. Um, I was like I was like, oh yeah, it's finally proof this character's real. I finally got proof, But it's like it's really not proof. This character is still forgotten. He's still a mystery, and like you know, the parting in chapter 5 is like you're never gonna see him again. Like this is the final meeting with him, and it's like super wistful, you know, piano music of like the rendition of Scarlet Forest,
Mm.
and it's like super thought provoking, and you know, the line saying something like you feel like you have everything you need, getting the last egg, and the Phoenix Wright section in chapter 5 when you're like interrogating all the flowers,
The evidence.
you get the evidence from Blue, and one of them is an egg saying, "This is evidence, and you will see what it's evidence for later," right? I mean, clearly, it's probably going to be something we still get to like discover with
Yes.
collecting all the eggs. But I
It's
think
one of the few things that are persistent. Is the only thing from the Dark World that has a shape between both worlds.
right, and I think that's also a little bit meta, in that again, it's evidence that fiction is real.
Mm.
Fiction is like evidence that what you experienced was real, even though it's like an illusion. It's just a fake story, right? But it's real to you. I think what it's saying is essentially that the forgotten man is only real because he matters to you. Like he only exists as long as we remember him, which is like, you know, Grandpa Semi, Redacted, Gaster, all these like mysteries, all these like Easter eggs, they only matter because you care about them. And I think the point of the character is there will not be any closure. We will not get to meet Grandpa Semi in
Yeah.
trailer
We're
and
not
like
going to be
see his
hanging out with
sprite,
them.
and he's not gonna have his own dialogue like he was supposed to. The point is he is cut content. And you know, this is very like Twin Peaks, like Laura Palmer being like this missing character that haunts the narrative. And like I've not seen season 3 or most of Twin Peaks, but from what I've heard, it's very much like um the point is like there is no closure with this character, and it only matters because you care about it, and you have to kind of like imagine a what if. You have to imagine like what kind of life this character led, and you
The
know,
original plan for Twin Peaks that they were not able to go through on was that you would never find out who the killer was.
yeah,
It was
I
supposed to be
I
a
remember that.
mystery
Yeah,
in perpetuity, but
yeah,
they were changed in like the very beginning of season 2. They were forced to reveal who the killer was. It was a terrible, terrible, stupid decision.
yeah. From what I could gather, season 3 is basically just like a very unsatisfying ending, repeating what happened in season 2. That like,
It's radically different. It's basically just David Lynch doing whatever he wants.
yeah, but kind of like, well, you found out who the killer is. Are you happy now? Like,
Mm.
and then blending in the face of Asian Cooper looking out into the distance, and it's like he's like shell shocked, and it's like, no, you're not happy knowing who the killer was because that wasn't the point. You didn't get the closure you wanted, right?
Yeah, he's well, I assume you'll see it someday, so I won't say anything about it.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
this is just from what I could gather
It's a
from
bit
a
more than
friend and
that.
on
Yeah.
research. But I mean, this is stuff that Lynch was really good at, like these mysteries and like in like symbolic storytelling and um abstracts with characters and like sequence of events. I I'm not gonna say Toby's inspired by it, but I guess he kind of is because he's a Persona fan, which is just Lynch
Is
inspired. So
yeah.
I mean, I can't really say, but
Yes. Deltarune is a very Lynchian game. We're saying
it
it
is a
now.
very Lynchian game actually.
It has a
But
dreamlike qualities.
lots of characters talk about dreams in
Mm.
Deltarune.
It's never
Noel,
been more important than Chapter 5.
yeah, that's true. I have nothing more to add. I think I'm starting to get tuckered out.
I think we've pretty much covered everything that matters, or everything that has a question that we care about. Who is the knight? It's not Rudy. I know that for a fact.
It's definitely not
It's
Rudy.
it's either Yeah, Rudy has the same likelihood as Carol fucking flushing herself down the toilet. It's not happening. The night it's either like you said, Chris and Noel becomes the night amalgamates and goes back in time and is stuck in a never-ending cycle of torment, or it
We
is
love that.
Des and Azriel. It is just Des, or third crazy option, Des and Chris's original soul sprinkled on top of her desiccated corpse. Those are the options. Those are the only possibilities.
And
Um,
hopefully people will pick the one that I like.
yeah, this gonna be correct because that's the one I want it to be. That's the way it
That's
works.
right. Which is Rudy Knight.
What are the Titans? They are there. What happened when Gaster, I guess, laid with a monster or something? They're there.
Sorry, you just got gastered.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get Gastered.
You're like breaking up a little bit, and your voice is like robotic.
Oh, I was
It's very
saying
creepy. Sorry.
the Titans. They are under the depths. They are biblical Nephilim. They are half creatures of darkness. They are pure evil. You cannot reason with them. They are wicked
Mhm.
and no good.
That is very much
They live under.
established.
Yeah.
See, that one's interesting because initially when chapter 1 came out, um, like my immediate gut feeling was like, oh, Deltarune's a parallel story to Undertale. Everything's flipped upside down. The monsters are on the
Mhm.
surface. The humans are in the shelter. They got to be in the shelter. The Titans are humans, obviously, duh. And then chapter 4 was very
Then you saw
surprising
one.
that yeah, and it's really not
Yes.
that at all.
And they have the very overt angel designs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
I mean, again, kind of tying into the angel motif for several characters of like, I mean, Gaster and the player, obviously, like they're kind of like 4D beings within this 2D
Mm.
game. Noel's wish to be free and fly away. And then also with the Titans, I think it kind of ties into the theme of freedom more distantly. Like Noelle's wish to fly away on angel wings is like she wants to be free and break away from the boundaries of the game. Spamton has wings in
He
Spamton
can't
Neo.
fly. He's bound.
He's bound, but I, again, all these symbols that keep reoccurring and have ancient connotations. Toby's very
Freedom
smart
is
man.
just a thing for big shots.
Penumbra Phantasm,
Yeah.
whatever the hell.
Sneakers O'Toole.
Sneakers O'Toole. It really does sound like that.
Yeah, I can't unhear it now. It sucks.
It sucks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that is the thing. The Titans being creatures of darkness with the angel themes. Would it be a human and a darkener merge, or are they just something else that has existed from the beginning, like RALSEI's, just another aspect of the darkness taking form? I guess that's the thing. The only way I could see the human Titan thing still being true would be if the humans in the shelter have spent so long in the dark world and been so corrupted by the darkness they've literally merged and made their own sort of amalgamates, kind of like the night in that whole theory.
I'll be honest, I kind of wrote off the entire human thing entirely until we get an answer. Because it
Yeah.
is so it's a complete blank. Like he is so secretive about it that I can't make a call on that anymore. I don't know if they're in
Yeah.
the shelter. I don't know
All we know about
anything.
humans is that we know that Chris is not the only one to have ever existed, but they are not particularly common in this town.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the thing as well of Chris doesn't want us to read the book on how to raise a human because I kind of thought about why. A lot of people defaulted, when the game first came out, like you read the book and Chris closes the book and doesn't let us continue to read.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people's knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, Chris doesn't like humans, just like Kara, right? They hate humanity or whatever. And I think it's really not the case. I think it's like there's like a clue maybe in the book that would be dangerous for us to know from Chris's perspective.
Yes,
Maybe
like
it'd be like
if it showed that it was checked out not just by Toriel but also by Carol or Rudy.
exactly. Then that would have heavy implications about a certain someone.
Exactly.
It could give us a hint on the weird route. What if the amalgamate night has any truth to it? If we found out that, well, you just merge a monster and a human and then you get a demigod,
Mm-hmm.
if we got a clue like that, Chris would not want us to know that. Chris is very secretive about who the knight even is or what the knight even is.
Yeah.
There's the whole scene where we try to get the helmet off the knight like we imagine it, and then Chris interjects and imagines Burley instead.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's a recurring thing too. The whole thing, the shelter code, fighting so desperately both times in chapters 4 and 5.
yeah, like I think there's really like something about humans within the narrative that is, from Chris's perspective, dangerous for us to know, and I don't know what it is. Maybe someone can figure it out.
We'll find out soon. Not enough information yet, but we've solved every other mystery, so that's fine.
I mean, you can basically come to the conclusion for the story with the info we have.
The rest of the mysteries will be solved by waiting for chapter 6, and then after that, chapter 7, and then anything unanswered, I don't know, replay it maybe. But yeah, I think we got pretty much everything we've been thinking about for over a year now out with this.
Yeah,
it is good to have chapter 5 out now. It does make a lot of things more clear, and without raising too many new questions.
It did deconfirm quite a few things for me.
Yeah,
which is a good development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hope you learned everything, and if you disagree with anything we said, you're wrong. We're right. So, yeah.
You ever see the Russian Gaster memes where he's like
Russian
green
Gaster? I've seen
and he like drops a nuke on Hometown?
Yeah, I've seen the Obama Gaster.
Oh, I've not seen that one. But
yeah, it's Drone Strike Obama Gaster.
I have not seen that.